I love that. I mean, you guys did some really high profile tours back in those days. I mean, you went out with David Lee Roth, you went out with Motley Crue. Uh, what do you remember about those tours? Because I mean, did you get to spend any time with Roth or any of the Motley Crue guys, or was it kind of ships in the night? You just show up and play the gig and move on to the next city.
The David Lee Roth tour. Now you got to remember that was on the Eat 'Em and Smile, man. David Lee Roth was the biggest rock star on the planet.
Yeah.
At that time with Yankee Rose, and he had Steve Vai in the band.
Yeah.
So he was really guarded, man. I mean, he had security around him. He would walk in and go get escorted straight to the dressing room. We didn't see him at all until the very last night of the tour. We got invited to David Lee Roth's hotel room.
And what happened then?
Well, he had a fingernail on his little pinky that was like a couple inches long.
Yeah.
And he utilized it. Let me just leave it at that. And he would go like this. There you go. Here you go.
Yeah, yeah. And what about the Motley Crue tour? Because they were at the top of their game at that time too. I think wasn't it Girls tour or Dr. Feelgood?
It was Dr. Feelgood, and Motley Crue, ironically, at that point had gone to rehab.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of fingernail action on that tour.
Right.
They were straight. And Mick Mars was the coolest guy in the band. And he's another guy like Steve Clark who I think maybe they liked the way I play guitar. I don't know, but they would befriend me because of guitar. Like we were like guitar brothers, right?
Yeah.
And they would invite me. Mick Mars invited me to go guitar shopping with him, and I'd be sitting in the lobby, and he would walk by. Hey, you want to come and tag along? And I did, and I would go guitar hunting with him. I think like in Minneapolis, we went to this vintage guitar shop, and he bought me a phase shifter pedal. I'll never forget. It was made by Maestro. It was one of these big giant Maestro with knobs on it, vintage phaser pedal. And Mick bought me that just, as a gift.
Cool.
Tommy Lee was really friendly. And we would go to after hours bars after the show, but he was sober at that time, briefly, I think. And we would go jam local. We would find where a local band would be playing, and we would go jam, and it would be songs like Helter Skelter or, Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin, the old jamming bar band stuff, but it was a lot of fun. That's and awesome. They all treated us really good. Every band that we opened for back in the heyday, Bret Michaels, CC DeVille was hella cool, man. We did a lot of dates with Poison back then, and CC DeVille would always give us the leftover pizza that they had in the dressing room. Hey guys, I know you're hungry. Take this pizza.
That's a good impression. Obviously, you spent some time there.
Yeah.
And back they had two buses. They had Bret Michaels and Ricky Rocket on one bus, and they had Bobby Doll and CC DeVille on the other bus. And one was the good bus and one was the evil bus.
Uh-oh.
Which was which?
I guess. Let's just say that a couple of us ended up living on CC DeVille's tour bus for I can't remember how long.
Yeah.
It's all a blur.
I remember that show I was talking about earlier, the Texxas Jam. You shared the stage with Poison that day. And I remember it was my first Texxas Jam, and there was 85,000 people there, and I'm on the floor and I'm down front because I was a huge Aerosmith fan. And I'm thinking, I'm going to get to the venue, I'm going to weasel my way all the way to the front, and I'm going to stand there all day waiting for Aerosmith. I was dying about 45 minutes into it. There was no way I was going to make it to Aerosmith later in the day, right? So Poison is on stage, and they brought out Paul Stanley. You remember that?
Yeah.
So I'm like dying, man. I'm just about to collapse and die, and I'm trying to retreat through the crowd, and I'm trying to slither my way out because it's just jam-packed bodies, and they're like, "Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rock and Roll, Paul Stanley," and they bring out Paul Stanley, and I'm like, "Oh man, I can't go anywhere now. Paul Stanley's here." And they did, I believe they did Strutter, and Paul played one of CC's guitars. And you know, Paul's in street clothes, which you didn't see back in the day all that often, you know. And I'm like, I can't leave now. So I remember that being a big deal. And there's actually a snippet of that in the video for I Won't Forget You, the Poison video. There's a snippet of Paul Stanley coming out, and that day was just brutally hot, man. I mean,
oh man, you're not kidding. It was so hot. Do you remember they had fire hoses and they were spraying everybody?
Yeah.
There's an Aerosmith video. I don't know if it's Ragdoll or because that was the tour that Aerosmith was on, was Done with Mirrors, I think. And it was Ragdoll or Permanent Vacation or something. And there's a video of Aerosmith where they got the fire hoses and they're spraying the audience on Texxas Jam on that day. It was so hot that day.
Yeah, it was brutal. I don't know what I was thinking. Like I'm young and dumb and naive, and I think I'm going to go down up front and stake my claim, and I'm going to be front row when Aerosmith comes out 5 hours from now.
Because you're a warrior. It's because you're a warrior.
I tried, man. I gave it hell, but there was no way.
Well, I was 20 years old. I hadn't turned 21 yet. How old were you when you were there?
Yeah, you and I are about the same age. I think you're a year older than me. So I don't know how old I was at the time. That was 80. Okay, it was 87. So I was 20. I was 20 years old. Yeah.
Were you born in 66?
67.
Yeah. Well, depending on when your birthday is. Yeah. But so we were both very young and impressionable. And like, I think back on that time period, I can't imagine being that age again, man. I've been tripping on age lately. It's really bizarre to think that what we were all doing at 20 years old in 1987, man. Holy shit.
Yeah,
it was awesome, man.
Makes me feel like we were all bulletproof back then, because we kind of were. I mean, you were putting things into your body that I don't even want to think about putting into my body right now. Jesus.
I know, man.
Terrible. So it kind of roundabout. I don't want to go back. Forward is okay with me, man. And, you know, no regrets.
Yeah, and it's better than the alternative, right?
Oh, my God, yeah.